What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Fun and Truth in Black and White with Pat and Jay.
What's up? What's up? I'm Pat.
I'm Jay. What's going on, man? It's been it's just been a rough week.
Busy week, but we're still here. So it can't be that rough.
It's good to be back. Good to be on the air. Good to be with our listeners. Tonight's episode, Frames, Notions, and Devotions. Pat, what are we talking about here?
Emails, man. The last episode we got away from the emails, but the emails are so good. It's like it steers us in the direction we need to go.
Yeah. So frames, notions, and devotions. Frames are how we view a picture, and sometimes a frame isn't exactly what is really going on in the whole situation. Sometimes things are framed just so we see them in a certain light, but there's actually more behind the
frame. You ever check out a picture and look in the background of the picture?
Right.
They say a picture tells 1,000 words, right? So a person can be in a picture and then you look at them, you look at the picture again and you look at the background.
Right.
And you begin to
see all the details.
Have a story in your mind where they were that day.
Right.
Who were they with?
Right.
Or just what were they doing? What was their mood? What were they wearing? Do they look different? So a lot can come out of a picture.
Yeah, it's partially about context.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's getting into the context of what's really going on.
Notions. Context and notions lend themselves to situations and circumstance.
Right.
Right? So tying this into fun and truth, love and sex, relationships, we got some very interesting emails about specific situations.
Right.
These emails are different in the sense that it's not really what if kind of thing. It's more like, here's what happened to me specifically. Right. And here's how I've reacted to it.
Right.
Or in some cases, how should I react to it?
Right.
So we handpicked these emails accordingly. Jay, hit me with the first one.
All right. So Lisa just started dating again, and she's playing it ultra safe, dating someone who she likes, but she's not really into. The key behind it here is that she knows she can't get hurt, but at the same time, she's really not happy. And she's asking us, is it worth continuing in this direction?
So, I get it. You've heard me say on this show, the listeners and people have emailed joking about it with me, but I've said I will rather get my ass beat than get my heart broken.
Yeah. I
can heal from an ass whooping.
Yeah.
It can happen. And in an ass whooping, I can get mine. I can get some punches in, So I don't feel like a complete loser in the situation, even if I might have lost the fight, right? But when you get your heart broken, that messes with your self-esteem. You don't want to go out. You begin to question yourself. There's a lot of adverse reactions that can occur.
Right.
So I get it. But if you're a 10, and everybody should feel they're a 10, but even if you're like a 7.5, you should feel you're a 10. Even if the world looks at you as a 7.5. Whatever it is, if you date someone that's not on your level, and I'm not talking about anything on paper, I'm just talking about you're not feeling them. I'm keeping just feelings here, not anything else about where they are in life. You're just not really feeling them, but you're doing that just to be in the middle of the road, just because they can't hurt you. Right. Now, without knowing anything else about Lisa, what I know is the last person, she was really, really head over heels and into that person in all likelihood. And he broke her heart, betrayed her trust, disappointed her to the point she's like, I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
So she says she's finally dating again. She probably took a nice long hiatus.
Right.
Not necessarily bad. Now, you're going to dive back in and date some person that doesn't thrill you. What might happen is, if that person is into you, like you were into your ex,
you might be breaking that person.
You might end up breaking that person's heart. Now, you turn the tables around.
Right. So here's the interesting thing about it. I'm going to go straight to devotion, which, that is what happened here. So Lisa was obviously devoted to her ex. And now she is getting out there again. And number one, congratulations to Lisa for getting through that and being brave enough to get back out there again. Because when you talk about having your heart broken and that experience, for a lot of people, it is really hard to have the courage to get out there again. But when you do, there's this notion that things go a certain way or you have to do certain things. And, part of it might be that, Lisa likes the idea of having someone, being able to say she's dating. But at the same time, the difficulty right now of her saying that she's not happy is because, again, what she is experiencing is completely different from what she experienced in the past. So she has to give herself time. And maybe that's part of it, is that she's not giving herself time to really find out what makes her happy with this person. Because if she's saying that he's cool, but, she's just not happy yet, well, how much has she given herself the chance to really explore happiness with this person? And on top of that is the frame in which that she's looking at things, exactly as you said, is also about, if she knows that this guy can't hurt her, then what boundaries is she pushing with him in order to really explore the relationship? Because if she's just going along in the relationship, even though she's not happy, why isn't she pushing the boundaries since she knows that she's safe with this person?
This relationship has no chance. Zero, okay. Nada, nay. It's going nowhere. It seems to me what she gained is control.
Okay.
Control, because she literally cannot get hurt. There's no risk. There's no risk. So because there's no risk, there's no reward.
Right.
It will go nowhere.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
But the disservice she's doing to herself. So she has gained the control. She has gained the feeling of, he's into me, I'm not into him. So as a result, she's never going to be emotionally fragile.
Right.
In the relationship. Right? Okay. That control is only going to go so far.
Right.
At some point, what will set in is a feeling of, what am I doing here?
Right.
And now you wear the role of the bad guy. Okay? Mm-hmm. The disservice she's doing. Let's say she has a type. Let's say if she's one of these people that actually has a type.
Right.
That she tends to gravitate towards or be more attracted to. What if she has come across guys that fit that exact type and didn't even give herself a chance to see what would happen, just based on the bad result of a previous relationship? Listen.
Well, I hate to call you out on that, but again, just based on your own frame of reference, you said that, you don't want to get your heart broken. And if it's already been broken once, why would you go back?
Here's the thing. There might be other things you can do. Well, you can never completely avoid getting your heart broken, because at some point, a portion of it is trusting in the other person.
Okay.
So you have to be vulnerable to some degree.
Right.
Right? The only thing you can really do is be observant and try to get ahead of it. But at some point, you're giving somebody the keys. Like at some point, you're saying, here's the key to my heart.
Right.
Take me home type thing, right? So there's some risk. It's either that or be asexual. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be some percentage of it. But what I'm saying is, this love thing, right? Like getting it right. It's like lightning in a bottle, bro. Like if you come across someone that you're feeling, the worst thing you can do is to not take that chance.
Right.
Because that's like it's like you're at a big parking lot, and you're looking for a car. Somebody gives you the keys and say, look, out of these 300 cars, only 3 start and run well.
Right.
Of those 3, one's going to get you where you need to go.
Right.
And you come up, and there's only one type of car you like.
Right, and none of them have remotes, by the way.
Right.
You got to like literally.
Yeah, you got to put the key in the ignition and start. Pun intended. But so you see, you only like one type of car. You see 3 of the type of cars you like.
Right.
The last time you owned a car, you loved it, and the shit died on you.
Right. Right.
But it was the same kind of car that you're looking at now. So you come across these three, and you're like, you see it, and you're like, let me not try to start that one.
Right.
You see another one, you're like, let me not try to start that one. Then there's some fucking jalopy, broken down hoopty, and you're like, you know what, does that one work? And the guy's like, yeah, that one works. You're like, let me take that one.
Right.
Now you're driving that shit, it's getting you where you gotta go, but you hate it. I'm just saying, like, you've got, look, if you don't roll the dice.
Right.
So rolling the dice, there's a chance you'll get hurt.
Right.
True. But there's a chance you'll be euphorically happy.
So what you're getting at is the fact that the notion that you can control the feelings of love and the lack of emotion in sex is really all BS. The reality is that subconsciously and unconsciously there are things that we are naturally drawn to and attracted to. And when we fight them consciously, we're only making life worse for ourselves. So, again, going back to, this is Frames, Notions, and Devotions. Obviously, when you're devoted to somebody and they break your heart, and it takes you a while to process over that, when you come out, you have a completely different frame because you don't want to get hurt again. But the notion that you can actually control this frame and keep yourself from going back to what you truly desire or want, or what, lights your, fire, pun intended. The reality is that you're fooling yourself to a great degree, because exactly as you're saying, that beat up old jalopy is a nice, steady, guaranteed ride, pun intended, but you may not enjoy it at all. And even though you're safe, that sense of safety is not comforting the way you thought it would be.
And the killer shit about that highway,
yeah,
somebody else bought that other car.
Right.
And they're going to drive right by your ass.
Right. And you're going to see them.
You're going to look over.
Zooming
so
by.
Look, we have to get to the advice segment. My advice to Lisa, don't hurt that dude. Let him go from now. Like, because you're not into him, so you're not going to even try. So because you're not going to try, you're kind of shitting on him. Don't do that. Let him go. And maybe you need more time.
I'm going to agree with your advice, but I am going to tell Lisa that I think that she should push the boundaries with him first. In other words, explore it. Be honest. Tell him how you really feel. See if there's some kinks or some things that, may make it exciting. But at the same time, make sure that you understand that being honest with this person is the most important thing that you can do first. Because again, if there's a chance that you can work it out together, give it that chance. If there's not, again, say thank you and move on.
And like we always say, anybody who's listening to this, you might be the person who hurt Alisa, and you might have hurt them by being an asshole. You might have hurt them unintentionally.
Right.
But it's important to know, like, the results of whatever it is you do.
That's right.
Know you're part of it. Or if you're somebody in Lisa's position, take the same advice. I just think in the end, be honest with who you're with, be honest with yourself.
Right, and open your mind and open your frame. Because, again, what you're seeing right now isn't necessarily the whole picture. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. This is Fun and Truth in Black and White with Pat and Jay.
Okay.
All right, Pat, Saturday, February 15th, 2020, from 1 to 5 p.m., the Help Meet Club invites you to join them in Yonkers for Waiting on What's For Me. General admission for men is $49. For women, it's $69, pun intended. Mm-hmm. Reserved is $119, and VIP is $199. All are welcome. Do not have to be single. This is a great event to come out and enjoy learning a lot of tips on relationships from a qualified matchmaker. For more information, go to thehelpmeclub.com. And we hope to see you there. Have a great, it's a great event, and you'll have a great time.
Fun and truth and fun. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Next email is from Bethany. I like the name. I brought my date to a party and nobody liked him without explanation. I think he's great, but now I'm wondering, ...
Okay, Bethany. What are you wondering? So, frame is obviously that the vibe that this guy was giving off to all of Bethany's people, was not what they liked. And so that's something to be aware of. But notion that this matters, here's the reality. Number one, what is it that they're really saying? And number two, are your friends really looking out for you? So, we're in a vague gray area because we don't know anything other than the fact that nobody liked him. But what kind of party was it? Was it a backyard barbecue? Was it a birthday party? Was it, these are a lot of things that I don't know. So therefore, I don't know how to, judge this. But the most important thing is that she likes him. So Bethany, if you like this guy and, you brought him to an event, but now you're questioning, how much do you really like him? And what is it about him that you really like? Is it the physical? Is it, the way he makes you feel? Is it, how he presents himself? That's what you need to explore, because the reality is what you really like about him, if it's underneath the surface, is far more valuable than if it's surface level. If what you like about him is completely surface level, then yeah, you might need to reevaluate what is going on here.
Lots to peel off here. Check it. First of all, I get it. 100%. If you're a social person and like your friends, your family, your sometimes colleagues, your crew you grew up with, whatever, if there's constantly social gatherings, this can be a real problem, right? Like, you don't want to be a hermit. You never leave your house, meaning if that's what you do, that's what you do. But if you usually are the opposite, you don't want to change that about yourself because of this relationship. So I get it. I understand. And then you're wondering, wow, depending on who's there, if my mother and my sisters and my cousins and my friends, and if all these people didn't like him, you're like, wow, everybody's not telling the same lie. Like, if 15 different people with 15 different personalities all don't like this guy, I get it. You're wondering. But there's some things to unveil here, which you kind of alluded to. Your friends, assuming it's friends, or the people, are they themselves in unhappy relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Where misery loves company?
Yep.
And there might be people that are your friends, or you think they are, that the last thing they want to do is see you happy because they're not happy.
Right.
Again, we don't know your situation, but we just giving you some context. And then you have to consider the source. Like, there are some people that may have a track record of looking out for you, and in the past they forewarned you about situations and people, and it's been beneficial. Yeah, some of these same friends might have told you in college, yo, watch out for that chick, or watch out for this dude. I think they're a snake. And then it ended up being right. So there's a lot of stock in what they say because they've looked out for you in the past. And then you have to evaluate the fact, if you're wondering, if you think he's great and now you're wondering, if the words of other people have you wondering, were you already shaky about him and were afraid to admit it to yourself?
Right.
Like, let's say this person is good in bed and successful and attractive, and there are all these things that, like, you want, but your fire isn't really lit. Like, you think the world would think you're crazy to not be with him, but you're just not really feeling it.
Right.
So maybe you already had a doubt.
Right.
And now these people's comments have fueled your doubt.
I want to flip this. What if it was the exact opposite? What if she liked him and everybody, liked him even more and put even more pressure on her to be with this guy? So, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm changing the frame. And I'm changing the frame so that you understand how notions change based on the way in which the frame presents itself. Because for Bethany, if she really likes this guy, right? Whether or not other people like him or don't like him shouldn't matter. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that just as other people don't like him and the vibe is wrong, what if they like him so much that it also makes her like something's too good to be true about him? That's one thing. But then on top of it is the fact that, devotion. Devotion in this case is to whom? Is it to your friends? Is it to yourself? Obviously, you have to think about that in terms of what really matters, especially when you're developing a relationship with somebody intimately. Again, we talk about it all the time in terms of the difference between love and sex and the fine lines that, really go into determining what is, just a physical, sort of moment of passion versus a long love affair versus a long relationship in which you understand the ebbs and flows of the feelings of love, and you use sex and different aspects of the relationship in order to keep the fire flowing. That's all about devotion to yourself as much as the other person. So in Bethany's case, who is her devotion to in this situation?
If it's the first date, or if it's the first social gathering, you might also be with someone that takes a while to warm up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's the life of the party. Like, not everybody walks into a room amongst strangers and is immediately comfortable. That same person, and again, I'm not saying they were uncomfortable, but without knowing the details of the party. And since no one gave explanation, I know from experience, and maybe you can attest to this too, I know from experience, to be honest, firsthand experience, I can be extremely quiet until you get to know me. And that has rubbed people the wrong way. It's happened several times in my life. And eventually, if I grew to be comfortable in the situation or I was around long enough, people have said to me, "Oh man, we thought you were so quiet. And you could be wild and this and that." But I'm not the same way around everybody. I mean, I'm a Gemini, who knows? But I'm just saying, like, some people jump right in. So maybe this guy, again, without having specifics, maybe he was kind of quiet to himself, being observant, evaluating the situation before he jumps right in. And maybe the people that she had around him were like, who's this clown? Why is he so quiet?
Pass me the rock on this one.
There you go, off the backboard.
So you just brought up a great transition in terms of, the difference between, frames and notions, and the fact that we're getting the frame from Bethany. But what about the dude in terms of, did he have a good time? Was he just there to support her? Was it something where he didn't like any of her people, and that's why they got a bad vibe from him? So there's an onion here that we're peeling off the layers to, in terms of, we're looking at it from Bethany's point of view to begin with, but now you look at the different frame in terms of what's really going on from other people's perspectives. On top of which, again, the other side of this that we don't know is, what type of party was it? Was it her family? Was it just friends? Was it, people that she considers friends?
Let me tell you how sensitive it can be.
Yeah.
This guy might be somebody that doesn't drink.
Right.
And let's say he had never brought that up to her before.
Right.
Maybe she doesn't know. He might walk in there and they're passing around shots, and again, nothing's wrong with that.
Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't exactly his type of party.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's a vegetarian.
Right.
And they were only serving meat.
Maybe he's a different ethnicity.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe everything was fine. He walked in there in a great mood, and maybe he overheard something that offended him.
Yes.
Because somebody wasn't very subtle about it.
That's right. Yeah.
You just never know. So I just think So you actually answered this with your first line,
Yeah.
which was, if you really like him, chill with him and hang out, give it some more time. That really is it.
Right.
If you're into him for the right reasons of substance,
Right.
who gives a damn what your friends think?
That's exactly
right.
right. But it makes a great conversation
No
for the two
question.
of them to have about the party and kind of like discuss, well, what was really going on, and how do they look at this in the future?
But check it. It's an easy one. Like, hey, did you have a good time? Simple.
Right.
I hope you had a good time.
Right.
Or something. Like.
Well, again, if everybody was getting a bad vibe, remember that, he may not necessarily want to talk about it. So she might want to bring it up from the standpoint of, I'm just wondering if you had a good time, because I got a sense that something was going on. And then he might be like, well, what made you think that? Or, what gave you that sense?
Or there might be another thing, again, because there are some, Jay, how many parties do we not attend just because we don't have time?
Right.
No humble brag or anything, but we get lots of offers to go to a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
So they might have another party next week.
That's
so
right.
what she could do is be like, hey, there's another, just bring up the next one and see his response to that.
That's a good point.
So this one, it's a
great conversation.
It's a great conversation. And honestly, you guys have an opportunity early in the relationship to get to know a lot about each other.
Yeah. All right, this is Fun and Truth. We'll be right back. Ladies, spring is around the corner and Fashion Week is almost here. If you want a fabulous look for the new year, head over to Shop Lux Squared for the best in quality fashion at great value. Handpicked to separate you from the crowd, each item and outfit is chosen for you to look and feel like a Lux doll. Go to shopluxsquare.com and experience the value of being a Lux doll. All right, we're back. George is emailing us. I don't think you guys discuss porn and kinky shit enough. Talk about it more if you want me to keep listening. All right, George. We're going to get into some porn and kinky shit.
Here's some porn for that ass. Listen. So, anyone who watches porn is familiar with Pornhub.
Yeah.
All right?
That's where you get all the free shit.
Pornhub is going to be in court.
Uh-oh. What did Pornhub do?
They're being sued. Well, look, this title of this article is, the first 4 words are, you make it hard.
Uh-oh.
If there was ever a pun intended.
There you go.
But the title is, you make it hard for deaf to enjoy. Check it out.
For deaf, D-E-A-F.
D-E-A-F.
Okay.
So check it out. I'm
I'm
not going to say his name, but this particular viewer is suing the popular porn site, claiming it's denied the deaf and hearing impaired access to its videos that others can easily enjoy.
Wow. That's some kinky shit right
According to docs obtained by TMZ, this person says a lack of closed captioning violates their rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Yeah, you gotta love this country, bro. You can sue someone for anything. But let's discuss it. This is porn.
Yeah.
George wants to hear more about porn.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this lawsuit?
Well, I'm going to go beyond the lawsuit first and just talk about George's need for porn and kinky shit. And the fact that, this is Fun and Truth, and, Fun and Truth in black and white. And we have sort of gotten caught up in exploring the finer minutia of relationships. But porn and kinky shit are an important part of relationships. And I think, to George's point, if you were to talk about the first 2 emailers tonight, we didn't really get into how far they could take it. Although I did say with Lisa to open up and explore, since she knew that she was safe. But obviously, different strokes for different folks. And in George's case, I'm trying to figure out what it is about porn and kinky shit that he needs us to explore. And I think that I'm just going to take a stab at it here, is that what value does porn and being kinky bring to a relationship? And I'm gonna give a first stab at it, let you go, and we'll go back and forth. But I think that, you know, the spice, the variety is a spice of life quote that I often, you know, say. The spice of porn and, you know, kink in a relationship is that it allows you to step outside of yourself. And sometimes it's because you lack imagination. Sometimes it's because you can't express your imagination. And sometimes it's because you need something in order to ignite you with the other person in a way that you can't on a daily basis, because there's so much stress, so many other factors that are distracting you. So porn and kink sometimes allow you to refocus on the person in a way that you can't when you just come home and, you know, you've worked an 8 or 10 hour shift, and it's not a matter of even being hungry or, you know, needing a beer or anything else. Sometimes, you know, you just don't have the energy unless, you know, you're doing something kinky or you turn on some porn, and that gets you in the mood. Your thoughts?
I think any stimulant that works for the relationship is a good stimulant. You know, like, even if only one person likes it. For example, I mean, it's great if both people are in agreement about the aids, whether they're visual aids, toys, what have you. I think it's great. But let's say if only one person needs this particular aid to help them get where they need to get mentally.
Right.
And then that leads, of course, to being where you need to get physically. Then the other person, unless they're offended by it, that's different. But even if they're neutral about it, unless they're offended by it, I think it's great. Now, porn in particular is different than toys, and it's different than role play, and it's different than dialogue.
Excuse me.
Health. And how it's different is that in porn, you're witnessing things that in some cases you can't do. Maybe physically you literally can't do them.
Right.
You know, like if somebody is like picking up their partner, tossing them around,
right,
and dropping them onto their genitals, standing up.
Right.
And you physically aren't capable of doing that.
Right.
You know, that's something that you might think looks cool, but you can't.
It might be a turn on.
Right.
Yeah.
So porn is a different ball game, because you might be watching something, and if you didn't check out the title or the description, something crazy might happen. When that thing happens in the video, you're aroused.
Right. Right.
And your partner is also aroused, or you're aroused and they're disgusted. Turn this off. Turn this off.
Right.
So I think porn is great, and there are some things you always talk about, conversation starters. That's like a big thing for you, I know, and I agree. And I think that porn also, for the person that doesn't feel comfortable suggesting certain things,
right,
and they might feel more comfortable if you and your partner watch it first.
Right.
So I think porn is great, and I think also to the ease of access. You know, privacy is a big deal, and the good thing about pornography, this is not, you know, decades ago where you had to walk into a store and hand-pick videos, and everything's available online now.
Right.
You know, so in the comforts of your own home. As a matter of fact, you know, even outside of a relationship, let's talk with another person. Let's talk about the relationship with yourself.
Right.
If you're exploring yourself, and I don't just mean like a teenager, you can be an adult, full-blown adult, still learning about your body or gaining new interests, right? Yeah. So I think it's an easy way to explore sexual possibilities.
You know, I'm gonna take this in terms of the title. So there's frames, notions, and devotions, and when it comes to porn and kink, one of the frames that's very interesting to consider is that you even said it. One of the partners may be into it, and the other person is not. I read somewhere recently that there's a scientific study that apparently believes that porn actually destroys brain cells. And
what?
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Kid,
There's always going to be.
Then I'm the Walking Dead, bro.
Right.
If porn destroys brain cells, I'm a zombie, son.
Right. So my point behind that is that there are going to be people that are into porn, and there are going to be people that are absolutely against porn. And the part of it that is the middle ground is the fact that I think we can agree that porn can either be a distraction or an attraction. And what that means is that there are people who get into porn and get addicted to it because of the fact that, exactly as you said, it presents a world that they cannot accomplish themselves physically. So therefore, what porn allows them to experience is something that they can't.
I think that's an amazing point, and I think the word you're looking for is fantasy.
Right. So therefore, that fantasy can be very addictive. Now, for a lot of people, in terms of exploring yourself, porn can be incredibly valuable because it's an education that we don't get in school. When we learn sex education, in school, and, I'm not sure if it's taught any differently today, but I can't imagine it's much different. The reality is it's just scientific and technical. Whereas what porn has presented and opened up the world to is the ability to explore yourself. So when you watch porn and you get ideas, it's not so much about the fantasy of being in that moment as much as it is about, oh, wow, that's something that I would have never imagined. And you also get to sort of, consider when you have conversations openly about porn with somebody where their head is at.
I think your addiction point is a great one. It should be a tool. Pun absolutely intended.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it should be a tool. It shouldn't be your sex life.
Right.
Like, if you're so immersed in watching porn.
Yeah. That's affecting you.
That's affecting you. Yeah, that's a problem. So there's a like everything else. There's a line, right?
Right.
And I think that's a very good point. I think we can.
Well, I want to get to another point, which is the fact that when it comes to kink, it can be very much the same thing. But the difference of the notion of kink is where I think that, especially for listeners like George, maybe what they're wanting us to talk about is the fact that within relationships, there's this closed-mindedness to kink because of things that we're not necessarily comfortable with. So let's go back to Lisa, our first emailer, and the fact that she's playing it ultra safe because of the fact that she's been hurt before. There's a huge opportunity for kink here. There's a role play with the guy that she's in a relationship with, being safe, where she can actually have him push her boundaries, because that is the beauty of kink, is that now you can be with somebody you completely
trust. What you're getting into is how mental it was.
That's exactly right.
And that's spot on. One other thing about porn and the mental effect of porn is, if someone doesn't clear their cookies and you happen to see what they searched online for porn, it's not necessarily an indicator of what they're into. Seriously,
100%.
A person can watch
research, baby,
porn like watching National Geographic, or the Discovery Channel,
which has just as much porn.
Even if they get stimulated, it doesn't mean it's things they would do, or even want to do.
Right.
Like, I know there are themes that come up in porn.
Yeah.
And I have clicked on them, and it's things I would never, ever actually do.
Right.
But it piques your curiosity.
Sure.
And sometimes the asterisk nature of it,
Yeah.
the odd nature of it, if it's different from your regular life, is a stimulant in itself.
Right.
Even if you don't plan or have any desire remotely of acting it out. I bring it up because I'm not clearing out my laptop. I'm an adult, okay? And I just think if you come across, porn can also be very private. Even if you're in a relationship, your relationship with yourself as you watch porn might be different than yours with your partner. So if you come across your partner's searches and you find them to be obscure or just different or just weird to you, don't judge them.
That brings up a very good point in terms of devotions, which is the last thing I wanted to get into here, is the fact that you can have a partner completely devoted to you, and they have another side to them in terms of porn or kink, and that does not affect their devotion to you. However, if you don't have the conversations with each other about these things, then you have to question your devotion to each other in the sense that you're not being open and exploring, which is what partners need to do. That's what relationships are really... The biggest challenge with relationships is having the tough conversations. And what porn and kink do is they invite you, I'm not going to say they force you, but they invite you to have tougher conversations with each other in a meaningful way. So again, if one of you has kinks that the other one doesn't have, the devotion is the opportunity to explore your support for each other, or whether or not this is a devotion to something that you have to question. So understanding, again, tonight's episode is frames, notions, and devotions, and we want our listeners to really open their minds to this idea that how you look at something right now in this particular moment may not be the whole picture. And there are these notions that we have to think a certain way about something based on what we see in front of us, and that's not true either. But the most important thing is, if you're in a relationship, you have to look at the devotion you have to that relationship as well as your partner's devotion, and how you're working together on that devotion versus your own separate lives. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. This is Fun and Truth in Black and White with Pat and Jay. Just one update on our earlier announcement for the Help Me Club. Their event on February 15th, 2020 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Go to helpmeclub.com to purchase your ticket, and at that point you will find out the location. So again, it's going to be a great event held by a matchmaker to give you lots of entertainment. Waiting on What's For Me. Go to the website, purchase your ticket, find out the location.
I got to tell you, I'm going to buy the $119 ticket. And the reason why I'm going to buy the $119 ticket, that's VIP. Now, I've been VIP in a few places in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But VIP at a matchmaking event,
there you go,
has to be some good shit. So if you're going to buy a ticket to VIP anywhere, this is the thing to do. Jay, get it going.
All right, Pat. I don't give a fuck about your boredom. And here's what I mean. We are completely and utterly filled with distraction as a society. And if you are bored, whether you are single, in a relationship, whether you are, just bored with life, bored with your job, the reality is it has everything to do with you. It has nothing to do with the world around you. Because there are so many things at this point in history that you have to entertain yourself, to amuse yourself, to increase your education, to increase your pocket, to increase your wealth overall. ways in which to, keep yourself healthy, ways in which to improve your relationships with others. There is no reason on this God's green earth for you to be bored. So understand that if you are bored, you are not doing something fucking right for yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Because there is way too much out there for you to entertain yourself with to be bored. And especially if you're bored in a relationship, then your problem is you're not bringing your best self to the other person. So stop and think about why you are bored. And then go do something about it.
I dig it. My PSA is about proper etiquette when you owe somebody. Let's talk about gestures. Someone looks out for you, whatever that is. They helped you move. They helped you review your resume. They gave you a ride when your car was down. Whatever. They look out for you. The asshole move is to either not look out for them back when they need you, like you're never available, or to wait for it to be tit for tat. Like, if somebody gives you a ride, you don't wait for a time to give them a ride back. You just wait for a time they're in need, right? Like, you don't measure it that specifically. It's just about looking out, paying it forward. Worse yet is not looking out at all, like just forgetting who helped you on the way up, or just who helped you in general. Like, it's about like a flow of energy, right? Somebody looks out for you, you should look out for them back. But I want to be more specific and talk about money. They say it's the root of all evil, okay? But the thing about it is, when somebody owes someone else money, I've been paying attention to this for years. People will shit on their friend. They'll shit on their family. But they won't give that friend or family the same respect they give Chase Bank. Right? You get a threatening letter in the mail from a financial institution. You're calling them. You're like, well, what can we work out? You're making a payment plan. You're going in person. You're doing some kind of communication, chatting with them online. There's nothing wrong with not paying back your friend or family in a timely fashion. There's something wrong with not communicating with them. Like, all you got to do, if they're really your people, is like, look, man, I have this hurdle, that hurdle. I'm good for it. And in many cases, that friend and family will be like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Just because you reached out.
Yeah.
But if you're ducking them.
Yeah. Now
it's a form of disrespect.
Right.
Or if in conjunction with ducking them, you're flying around the world, you're buying a new Maserati, and like flaunting it in their face.
Yeah.
Because again, a true friend or family member, and I really lump them all together because your people are your people, whether they share your bloodline or not, right? But that person, even if you owe them money, they're not going to expect you to stop living.
Right.
They won't even expect you to stop enjoying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is communicate with that person.
Yeah.
Because it's not the money that's owed that will break your relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lack of respect and you're not communicating with them.
Right, right.
And that's real.
I agree with that, and I have to tell you that the challenge that most people face with that is not only the communication, it's the fact that oftentimes both sides don't know how to deal. It's a gray issue because you don't really say up front, okay, look, this is the trouble I got into, and this is, where I am right now. But your point to flying around the world and throwing flaunting things in their face, that's where I think the real issue lies, is that if you're grinding and you don't, know how to communicate, that's one thing. But if you're successful and you could pay them back and you don't, well, that's another story altogether. So I think that it's a matter of, for our listeners, very important that you just understand that how you deal with your friends and family is even more important than how you deal with the banks and institution, because those are the people that you have.
Yeah, and it's funny tying it into relationships. You're dating someone.
Yeah.
And you watch them shit on their people.
Yeah.
Be very, very careful. Like, at least for me, that's a deal breaker. Like, even if I'm not dating somebody, just if you're a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I'm watching you, like, disrespect people who you claim to me that they're close and important to you.
Right.
I've got to be prepared for you to turn around and do the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So if you're in a romantic relationship with somebody, intimate, what have you, and you're watching them just like not be good. I'm not saying they don't have to be out and bend over backwards for the whole planet, but at least for their core group.
Right.
They're not rocking with them the right way. You'll be very, very careful, man.
That's a good point. All right. This is Fun and Truth in Black and This is Fun and Truth in Black and White.
Black and yellow. Fun and Truth in Black and White with Pat and Jay.
We hope you had a great episode. We'll see you on the next go-around.
Peace and love.